to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. Sleep, never say sorry. Oh, maybe I'll leave, baby, but you know I never will. No.
Hello, what is going on, people, and welcome back to PKIdeas for another Road to Glory series video. This is round 3, and as you may tell, this is kind of going to be pre-recorded. And the reason why this round and then the next round is going to be pre-recorded is because I am away playing a tournament in Melbourne. So I can't really do two things at once along with the editing, so I'm going to pre-record this before I go to Melbourne. And then I'll be back in round 5 reading all of your comments. So make sure not to comment on these ones, but comment on the next video which I post up, and so that way I'll be able to use those comments for round number 5. Firstly, we have this game that I played. I think you've already seen the previews at the start of this video, so let's just get straight into it. The first game that I played was against Norman S22, and he was white. So the game started off with first move d4 followed by knight f6, c4 d5, knight c3, d takes c4, bishop g5, e6. So this was kind of a Nimza Indian style game where what is normally supposed to happen is something like e3, bishop takes c4. That was the plan for white, and for black the plan is to play bishop to b4 and then do castles and then develop normally. However, here he played e4 planning to play e5, so I just played bishop to e7. Then normally here probably knight to f3 is a good move. It got in that bishop once, but he played the mistake of playing bishop takes c4. Now here I just played knight takes c4, winning a pawn, and knight takes e4 in this situation doesn't really work because of bishop takes g5, knight takes g5, queen takes g5, and then you have a situation where I am actually a pawn up. So we have this kind of position where he's lost a pawn from early on, and he has no choice but to continue on by playing bishop takes e7, knight takes e3, and now he didn't want to swap the queens off because my knight would escape quite quickly and attack his bishop, gain a tempo along the way as well. So he played b takes e3, queen takes e7, knight f3 castles, knight d7, queen c2, knight f6, rook fe1, and queen to d8. So here I had to find a way to try and develop my bishop. You could see that the e pawn is kind of stuck on e6, and that the knight on f3 is stopping me from playing e5. So I had to develop the pawn some way by developing it along the a8 h1 diagonal. So rook a d1 was what he played. He's planning to push that pawn forward, so I played b6. He can't push the pawn forward yet because my knight on f6, my pawn on e6, and my queen on d8 are all guarding that d5 square, whereas he only has two pieces, the rook on d1 and then the bishop on c4 guarding that square. So I play b6, rook to d3. He's planning to double his rooks and try and push the pawn, so I play bishop to b7, putting another piece in to guard that d5 square. So knight to e5, and now bishop to e4. So here at knight to e5, this was quite a grave mistake that he had played, and the reason is because he simply loses the exchange here after bishop to e4. But here there might have been better for me actually, maybe something like b5, and so let's try that. So something like b5, and then bishop takes b5, and then afterwards queen to d5, threatening that checkmate, and also threatening that bishop on b5. So that was all possible if I had played b5. I didn't really think of it at this situation because I was winning and there was no need to sacrifice anything. Just keep the advantage and press on forward. So here, in terms of b5, he could have also just played bishop to b3 and then suffer the consequences after I play either a5 or bishop to e4 once again. But I think bishop to e4 straight away was pretty simple and pretty okay. So knight to c6, bishop takes c6, he just blundered a knight, and by this point I think he had given up. After f3, knight to d5, bishop takes d5, bishop takes d5, c4. So he's trying to push that pawn forward again, but then I won't allow him. Bishop to b7, he plays d5, and I just simply take e takes d5, and then he has to play queen to d2. I'm not sure the reason why he played this. I think the simple reason was that he just didn't want to take the pawn on d5 with the c pawn. So I play c6, keeping that advantage in the center. My passed d pawn, well, it's not passed yet, but it's soon gonna be. Rook to d1, creating a battery down the d file. Bishop to a6, pinning that pawn, and soon winning it. Rook to d4, bishop takes e4, and I just won another pawn. I think at this point he had just merely given up, just playing useless moves here. So a4, c5, queen, f4. Here you can see losing a rook, quite simple. C takes d4, rook d3, bishop takes d3, queen takes f7, rook takes f7, a5, queen h4. A g3, queen h3, and now here I just did a pre-move of playing queen to f1, and whatever he played, any move in this position that he plays queen to f1 is checkmate. So he plays king f2, queen f1, checkmate, and that was the first game that I played. Now let's go on to the second one. Okay, so this is the second game that I worst against Fong Chung Chi Chuk. I think he's 1500, but I think this is first rapid game that he's ever played. So this game was quite simple. I was white, and I started off with playing e4, followed by e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So going into a sort of Italian game or piano. Knight to f6, so transposing into the 2 knights, then to the 3 knights, and possibly the 4 knights. Castles, d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5. So what I believe here is that he just simply blundered his position, and the reason is he's moving the knight in the opening twice when he has these 2 bishops that he has to develop, and he has to castle, so he has to do all these 3 moves while I'm already castled and I'm ready to start an attack with my 3 pieces that are going to come in. So I just played d4, trying to open up the diagonal for the bishop on c1. He plays bishop to g4, pinning my knight, and then I just play d takes e5, attacking his knight, which means I just simply want a pawn. So bishop takes f3 was played, and then I just played queen takes f3, and then he played knight c to b4, guarding his knight. I think in this position, probably knight to d4 would have been better, and the reason why knight to d4 would have been better is because after queen takes d5, queen takes d5, bishop takes d5, he can play knight takes c2. So the position is quite normal. I mean, sure, I'm going to lose this rook, but I have a lot of compensation. I mean, I can already play bishop takes b7, bring the bishop back to e4, and after he takes my rook, I can just move the knight out of the way, the bishop out of the way, and then take the knight afterwards. So the game is quite equal. I think it's way better than what he played. So he played knight c to b4, and I just played c3, so he has 2 pieces on pre, and both of them and he can only move one of them, which means he's gonna lose either knight. So he plays b5, trying to get one of those pieces off pre, because here if bishop takes b5, then c6 is possible. Sure, I have c takes b4 and he has c takes b5, but then I really preferred to keep the bishop that I had developed, because it has only moved once, and bishop takes b5 isn't really warranted here, except for the fact that you're winning a bit of material. But I just wanted to keep the pressure, play bishop to b3, and then he just played f6. So I just obliged myself to that knight on b4, c takes b4, c6, e takes f6, queen takes f6, bishop takes d5. So notice here he can't play queen takes f3 because of bishop takes f3. He played c takes d5, queen takes d5, rook d8, and then I played queen takes b5 check. So here you can see actually the merits of castling for me, because I've castled and he hasn't, which means that his king is in the center who's prone to attack, and I can easily develop my pieces and start an attack on him. So he plays rook to d7 and I play bishop to g5. He plays queen takes b2. So at this moment of time I don't really care about that rook on a1, simply because I've got quite a good attack going on over here, and I just play rook to e1 check. And what he did was he just simply resigned. So here let's look at his options. He can either play bishop to e7 or king to f7. So if he plays bishop to e7, I just do rook takes e7, and then he will be forced to go to king to f8, and then I would probably bring the queen down to b8 and deliver checkmate after rook d8, queen takes d8. So that's a force win for me over there. Another move that he can play is play king to f7, I think. So here checkmate is really close, I think in 7 moves. So let's just not take that rook. I just go queen. So let's just not take that rook. I just simply go queen to c4 check. The king can't come over to the queen side simply because the rook's cutting it off, which means that you can play rook d5, queen takes d5, prolong the checkmate if that's possible here. And then I just play bishop to then I just play queen to e4 check. And in this situation, if he plays king to f7, I just play queen to e6 checkmate. And if king takes g5, then I just play h4 check, king h6, queen f5 check, king takes h4, and then simply g3 checkmate. So there we go. That was the end of the game in terms of analysis. Quite a simple game. He just made a few mistakes in the opening, which allowed me to compensate, and the fact that he didn't really castle made it much easier for me to take advantage of his position. So with that being said, that is the end of this round. So as I said before, this one is pre-recorded, so it will be the next one. So make sure to comment on the next one for the round afterwards. So round number 5 is the one where I'm going back into routine. So with that being said, leave a like down below and comment on it if you want to. Make sure to name a charity, so please do so, and I will see you people next time.